Oh hey, it's Wes and Maggie, and today we want to talk about the TTartisan 21 1.5, and I am thrilled to be testing out this lens. Let me explain why. In the past, I have checked out the TTartisan 50 and I think 35, and I found them to be stellar lenses. I loved using them, but I have since sold all my APS-C cameras, and those were APS-C lenses. So I sold those lenses, even though they were fantastic lenses. Finally, TTartisan is coming out with full frame lenses, and this is very exciting. How does it hold up? We'll find out real soon, starting number one as always with the build quality. No surprises here, it is a lot like other TTartisan lenses. This is an all metal construction. We don't have an O-ring on the back here though, so not weather sealed. It comes with a friction fit lens cap, slides on, slides off, very, very small pedal style lens hood, or you can actually mount this adapter that extends the lens hood and allows you to mount filters on it. So that's very interesting. It does, however, make the lens exceedingly ugly. But once that's on, you have a screw-on lens cap. So if you hate the friction fit lens cap, you can go with the screw-on one. It just makes it a little bit more unwieldy. No surprises, this is another all-metal design from a Chinese company. It's an 8 out of 10 for build quality. Bam. Handling and usability. Here we have in the middle our focus ring, and this actually has very subtle external focusing. You can barely see it happening though. And then in the very front here we have the aperture ring. It's kind of very similar design to what we have here with the 7 Artisans 35-1.4 lens. Another vintage inspired lens, one might say. The focus ring is very large, reasonably well dampened. And you still have a lot of lens left over to hold on to when you're snapping it onto the camera, which is a problem with some lenses. Like, say, this one. There is not a lot that you can hold on to. Aperture ring on the front is very lightly clicked. Doesn't have quite the level of satisfaction as their 51.2 for APS-C. It would be nice, however, if there was some way of locking the aperture ring. I know it's asking a bit much for a tiny lens like this, though. Overall, this is a fun, little, vintagey, manual focus lens. Nice, tight, compact size. It's an 8 out of 10. Image quality. This is where things get a little bit interesting. Where the APS-C TTartisan lenses were almost entirely surprisingly modern designs, this one, when you open it wide open at f1.5, this does have a very vintage character. Slightly messy bokeh, a little bit soft, a little bit bloomy, a little low contrast. But when you step this down to say 2.8 and beyond, this lens gets surprisingly sharp and surprisingly modern in look, except for the flaring and lens effects on it, which kind of just go crazy, which is what we're looking for here. So if you want to do something that's soft and warm and vintagey, you can open this all the way. But if you stop it down, you can get something that's sharp and almost nearly clinical in rendition, which is very interesting. This makes me think a little bit about the 7 Artisans 25.95. Pretty similar focal length here. I have it in a box back there somewhere because I'm not using it at all, because it starts out soft and dreamy and finishes off soft and dreamy. It never really tightens up, so much so that you can't really even use focus peaking very well because nothing is sharp enough to trigger those edges. Whereas this one, focus peaking works great. It's just a little bit shifty at f1.5, but it's still perfectly usable there. So I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10 for image quality. Fantastically sharp later on, not so sharp right at the beginning. If you want to see more image samples, check out the link down in the description below. If you want to pick up one of these lenses, again, we have a link in the description to help support this channel and feed my napping cats. Next up is image character. That's something that we're really looking for in a lens like this. And does it deliver? That's a tough one, because as I said before, it starts out kind of vintage and then goes kind of modern. And the bokeh, it's not really soap bubbly, it's not really anything in particular. That's kind of the weakest point of the character of this lens. Now, you're not going to be working with a lot of bokeh because it is so wide, but when you do, it's not super pleasing. It can be a little distracting. Not like a swirl, which is kind of a thing, but it's just not super clean. But when it comes to the lens flares and the sun stars and the effects with light at any aperture at all, this is gonna let you have a lot of fun. It's not perfect, but it is a joy to use. I'm gonna give that an 8 out of 10 for image character. Autofocus, it has none. However, due to popular demand, I'm breaking up my rating scale, and my final score will not include the fact that it does not have autofocus. But I'm gonna have both in my spreadsheet in case someone is cross-shopping. Value, it's TTartisan, so we should be getting a pretty good value here. Let's see how that goes. This one comes in at $240. That's a lot of metal and glass for 240 bucks, especially for a full-frame lens. How can we compare that? We have to exclude anything that doesn't have an aperture wider than 2.8, because this is a very wide aperture lens. So we have a Viltrox 24 1.8. That is almost as wide and almost as wide. That's $380. That's $140 more. There's also a Viltrox. We have a Samyang 24 1.8 autofocus, $500. A Rokinon 21.8, $600. Tokina F2, $650. Sigma 20 F2, $700. I think we know where this trend is going right here. And then there's stuff off the charts, like the newer Sony 21.8 for $900, the Sigma 21.4 Art for $900, the Voigtlander Nocton 21 1.4, almost the exact same as this, except arguably, I don't know, maybe a higher quality. It had better be for $1,200. So obviously, when it comes to a full frame lens, 21, wide aperture, you can't get this for even close to less than this. This is a 10 out of 10 for value. Our total score, that is a 41 out of 50. That's a pretty strong score. Let's see how it ranks up against the competition. So that's 82%. And if we're going for an absolute score that also includes autofocus lenses, that's a 68.3%. Take your pick right there. Let me know what you think about the new TTartisan 21 1.5 down in the comments below. I'd love to talk about that. Let me know if you have any other suggestions for what we should be looking at. Do you think they should keep moving in this direction or just stick with APS-C? Spoiler, I would like them to keep going full frame. But until next time, let's go take some flaring photos.